breakout on the upside. So one has to be patient enough to wait out for this pattern get completed. 16,400, 450 is where the pattern would get completed on the index. So we are almost at 16,375 on the index. So another 75 points higher is where I believe one should try and initiate a trade above that 16,450 mark. And once that breakout happens, we could be looking at least a 200 to 250 point jump on the index over the very short term.
Right, that's the view coming in on the index as of now. But let's straight dive into the BNSN lens segment. And today on Lens, we will be talking about the ones that will benefit from good monsoon. And among those is definitely the tractor segment that will benefit on back of normal monsoon. For now, what the IMD is saying that they are expecting the monsoon rains to pick up by June 15th. And with normal monsoon prediction, like mentioned, tractor demand will also go up going ahead. So how are these sectors looking like? Remember that even Escorts had shared their capex plan in an exclusive chat with Economic Times. So before we go on and get the views from our expert, let me bring on board Soumit to exactly tell us what did the Escorts management tell Economic Times in the exclusive interview. Soumit, over to you.
Well, Escorts management did an analyst meet yesterday, and here are the key takeaways from that. Firstly, the management said that the demand drivers are in place and they're expecting a single-digit growth in FY23. For the non-agriculture business, the management said that they're not yet seeing a pickup in demand and they're expecting an uptick in demand to start from the third quarter of FY23. For the railway segment, they said that they're headed towards normalcy, and they're expecting the margins to be around 15%, and the order book is also robust for this railway segment at close to 440 crore rupees. Now, they also said that they're expecting a rise in market share going forward for the tractor business, facilitated by assistance of the Kubota. Now, they said that when it comes to the export business, they're aiming to achieve an annual run rate of 8,000 to 10,000 crore tractor sales over the short term, and wants to be a leader in the export segment over the long term, that is going forward. Now, on the tractor segment financing, they said that they're not seeing any constraints so far when it comes to tractor segment financing, and going forward, they're also planning to launch their own captive NBFC. Now, post the Kubota acquisition of Escorts, are saying that they will be coming up with a new joint medium-term plan in the third quarter of FY23. So this will be important to watch out for what are the growth targets and what are the plans going forward. Along with this, they also said that the joint venture has a capacity of nearly 50,000 units, and post-merger, the total capacity for Escorts would increase to nearly 1,70,000 tractor units. And they also said that Kubota is also expressed its interest when it comes to the construction equipment business of Escorts. So these were the key takeaways from the Escorts management meet or the analyst meet.
Okay, Soumit, thank you so much for that update. But Saurabh, I want to come to you. Obviously there's positive commentary coming in from Escorts in terms of the tractors side, as well as IMDb has predicted a normal monsoon coming in. So, what are you looking at in terms of fundamentally which companies are looking attractive now?
I think if you look at if you look at the underlying demand seems to be very strong from the agrarian economy. In the month of March, April and May itself, we have seen good amount of double-digit sales coming in for the tractors. The reasoning behind is that the farmer is now getting, because of the commodity inflation, now they are getting good amount for their produce, and before the harvesting season, they want to be equipped with all the necessary materials. I mean, they are spending more heavily. So on the what do you ask me, like what is the best pick? I find Mahindra to be better than the Escorts because of their the demand is much stronger for the Mahindra, and they have a bigger market share. And apart from the tractor demands, the other utility vehicles demand and the other segments they are seeing good traction in that also.
All right, so that's the view coming in from Saurabh. Good morning to you, Saurabh. And over to you, Kunal. Good morning to you once again. Also, how are you seeing these tractor players? You have the likes of Escorts, Mahindra, Force Motors. All of them are a major player in this particular segment. But among these, which one do you think will stand out going ahead?
Good morning, Cheryl. So, two stocks which have outperformed out of the, tractor pack, and the ones which have been very strong right from the start of 2022. So, you look at the charts, I think Ashok Leyland and M&M, these are the two names which have done formidably well. In fact, even over the last 1 month of the price correction and then a bounce back, M&M and Ashok Leyland have been the two stocks which have done pretty well for themselves compared to the other names like Escorts, Force Motors. The charts for these stocks are indicating that these stocks are still trading at multi-week lows for themselves. So price-wise, I think M&M and Ashok Leyland is something to take note of. And I think if one has to initiate bullish trades over here, it has to be into these two stocks because of the fact that these stocks are riding on very high degree of momentum.
Okay, Kunal. Okay, surely we will keep an eye out on all those stocks in the tractor space. But with that, we're going to slip into a very short break. But stay tuned in because we'll be back with your queries on the other side. You can send us your queries on YouTube as well as WhatsApp.
Powered by Qualcomm Snap.
It could be a challenge.
See, Nikunj, you're a very seasoned market observer, and therefore you may hit the nail on the head.
I think you have always kept the focus on the retail investor, and I think it's again a very apt, very good question.
Nikunj, first of all, thank you so much. You are one person I've always enjoyed interacting throughout the last 15-20 years.
The problem on coming on your channel is that you already know everything. I just heard your introduction. And what can anybody add to that?
Stock markets is a numbers game, and it sometimes does come across as one-dimensional. But what people don't see is that these numbers, when strung together, tell a story. There's no really black or white. It very much seems to be a work in progress of triumphs and mistakes, greed and fear. And I bring you that story behind the numbers in action.
The personal finance show that helps you achieve all your financial dreams.
This show gets you everything that you need to know about your money, how to earn more, invest smartly, and spend while getting the best bang for your buck.
From the perfect home to early retirement and everything in between.
Real estate, everyone knows, is an asset that Indians absolutely love, maybe even more than gold.
Join us every weekday at 5 p.m. on the ET Money Show. Investment made easy, only on ET Now.
With each passing day, this market is becoming better, and with each passing day, this market is only telling you that if you've participated on every decline, you've actually made money.
ITC's credo is nation first, sab saath bade. I would like to live this philosophy in whatever business we do.
We continue to be very well diversified across product lines. The general health of the company continues to be very strong.
We are a publicly listed company. We have access to capital. We have great brands.
No, beautiful question. Yeah, I can tell you, we believe that we'll be able to reduce costs.
ET is one of my favorites in the world. I'm a fan.
This is a very insightful question that you're asking, Nikunj, and almost seems like you were listening in on the deliberation the committee was doing. And you're absolutely right.
And if this cup of coffee is costing you 25 rupees right now, after 5 years, it may cost you 100 rupees. Predicting the market or predicting the short-term move in the market, well, that's always very easy. Predicting it right and making money, it's not impossible. It could be a challenge.
See, Nikunj, you're a very seasoned market observer, and therefore you may hit the nail on the head.
I think you have always kept the focus on the retail investor, and I think it's again a very apt, very good question.
Nikunj, first of all, thank you so much. You are one person I've always enjoyed interacting throughout last 15-20 years.
You know, the problem on coming on your channel is that you already know everything. I just heard your introduction. And what can anybody add to that?
Welcome back. You're watching Buy Now, Sell Now on ET Now, and time to take your queries. We have our experts today, Saurabh Jain as well as Kunal Bothra. And for all of you who are just tuning in for the first time, you can write in to us on the WhatsApp number that is flashing on the top of your screen, or you can actually write to us on any of the social media platforms. We are live on Twitter, YouTube as well as Facebook. So you can write in your queries. Remember to mention your name, the stock name, also the time horizon that you're looking at. Also, you can tell us the buy price as well, so it'll be easier for our experts to give their suggestions. But first up, let me take this query that I have that is coming in. I do not have the name of the viewer, but it is on Bandhan Bank. Wants to know whether is there any chance of seeing Bandhan Bank in the range of 340 to 345 once again, Kunal. Already sold 4 puts at 300. So what's your take on Bandhan Bank?
So I think it's a good strategy that you've sold off the 300 put option. I'm not sure what price you've executed the trade, but I'm sure that you could probably have gotten a healthy premium on the selling of this put option. I would expect Bandhan Bank to head higher from current levels. So I think out of the many private sector banks, mid-cap names, this is the only one which has been extremely strong and robust even in the last 3-4 months of the market volatility. So makes sense to hold on to this selling of put option, and 340, 345 could be a possible move on the upside for Bandhan Bank.
That's the view on Bandhan Bank. But Saurabh, coming to you, we have a viewer who has a query on the plywood segment. Now, Ramesh wants to know whether it's which one is a profitable buy, Greenlam or Century Ply, given a long-term time period. They have a 2-year holding period.
I think Century Plywood looks more interesting to me, considering the fact that there is a least amount of pressure on their margins because of the good business that they have and the amount of traction they are getting into the MDF and the other material which they are coming up with. Also, they have a very good capex plan to cater to the rising demand because of the jump in the real estate industry. I mean, when we see there is a boom in the real estate industry, the peripheral industry, in fact, gets benefit out of it even after the 3-4 years. I mean, there is always a lag effect. So I think best part is yet to come, and Century Plywood looks good to me.
It's coming from Saroj Karmarkar, who's writing to us from West Bengal and wants a technical view on Gland Pharma. Wants to know how does the charts look for this one. What's your take on this one, Kunal, Gland Pharma?
So it's a stock which has gone through very sideways price action in the last 4-5 days. I was actually looking at many of these pharma stocks and the behavior of the price action for both large caps and mid caps. And there are a few names like Oro, for example, Glenmark Pharma, which have seen recovery. But Gland Pharma is one name which has gone through a very sideways kind of a price action. Now, for the stock to get back into the thick of momentum, you would need either the stock to break past about 2,880 mark, which is the first immediate short-term swing resistance, or you would need a burst of volumes or a strong spurt in volumes for the stock to break past about those levels or the buying interest to come back. At this stage, I would probably expect the stock to consolidate further, and I think you have to wait out for either of these two data points which I just flagged off for you to get into a buy zone for Gland Pharma.
That's the view on Gland Pharma. But Kunal, I'm going to come to you again because we have a query coming in from Dheeraj. This is on Pidilite Industries. Now, whether is it a right time to buy Pidilite Industries or should one be waiting for more correction coming in here?
See, I would suggest to wait out for more correction, and the reason is not on the last 3-4 days of chart patterns. The last 1 week, 2 weeks of chart patterns have given a breakdown on the weekly time frame. So the weekly RSI, for example, has given a breakdown below the 40-odd mark, which is again a point of concern that the near term as well as the medium term trend would have weakened down significantly for Pidilite Industries. And even on the price front, the stock is at a verge of breaking a multi-month support at the current levels of 2050. So I would suggest a wait. Possibly the stock corrects and falls to the 1900 mark, 1900, 1950. That could be a good zone of initiating a contra buy.
Okay, this one is coming from Bhaskar, and Bhaskar is asking about Astral. He's saying that he's already invested in this particular counter at a price of around 2,124 rupees per share, but now he wants to know whether he should go ahead and average this one. He wants to know whether he can hold on to it as well. Saurabh, do you want to take this one on Astral? The buy price is 2,124 rupees per share. It is definitely fallen from those levels. What should Bhaskar do with the holdings? Make sense to hold on for the longer term?
Since to hold for the longer term, it's because of the rising cost of material that is putting a pressure on the margins, and markets are really nervous whether these players will be able to protect their margins. I think one or two more earnings will give a clarity, but on the demand side, I don't think so. There seems to be much to worry.
Okay. Surely keeping an eye on that one. But Kunal, coming to you, we have a query coming in on CAMS. Now, what's the technical view on this? Akshay has bought in it at 2,900 levels. What should they be doing?
See, CAMS was also one of the recommendations which I had given last week, when the stock was getting into a flag pattern breakout. Today, the breakout has happened for the stock price. And if you look at the set of names which are actually moving up higher, it's a pack which has moved up higher, the likes of CDSL, BSC, MCX, etc., which are doing pretty well for themselves today. So my sense is that it's a stronger trend in the making for stocks like CAMS. But from a short-term play, I would not suggest buying at current levels, because generally when these stocks break out on the upside in this kind of a market which is consolidating, you typically see the next day as a day of mild correction. So wait out for maybe the next 1 or 2 days. If the stock corrects back towards 2475 mark, that could be a good point where you can look to average.
Okay, this one is coming from Ravi, and he's writing to us from Chennai, and he's saying that he has 10,000 shares of NLC India, which he's purchased at 54.5 rupees per share. He wants the long-term and the short-term view on this one, but I'll go in for the long-term view. What's your take on this one, Saurabh? NLC India, the buy price is 54.5 rupees per share.
Would be fantastic given the fact that the commodity prices have gone up, and also it is a electricity producer along with the selling of the lignite. So I think the company should do well, and it is a good dividend payout company, so you can hold for that.
Okay, Kunal, the next one is for you. We have a query on Polyplex Corp. Now, Samir Jana, they have 27 shares of Polyplex Corp at 2,200 rupees. Should they shift to a safer stock like Tata Consumers or any other stock, you would say, or continue holding Polyplex? See,
I think as a part of a structural portfolio, yes, you can make that switch from Polyplex towards Tata Consumers or such other names from a longer term play. But even Polyplex is not a bad stock as such. The stock has been doing reasonably well. In the last 1 month, it's recovered from 2,100 to 2,600. Very rarely have we seen stocks in the last 1.5 odd month which have recovered more than 20%. So that itself tells you the degree of outperformance of the stock. If you can stick with Polyplex for maybe a few more sessions or for the next couple of weeks, you can probably expect the stock to come back towards 2,700, 2,750 mark. But if you're looking at this as a structural kind of a question, which could be more impactful over the next 1 to 2 years or maybe more than that, then you can make that switch.
Okay, this query that I've got is from Gopal Rao. He's writing to us from Nagpur, and he's already given us a caveat saying that he's a trader. And his question is that he's holding about one lot of futures of 25 shares of Abbott at 18,000. What should he do? Kunal?
I would suggest a hold. In fact, Abbott was also one of the recommendations which I had given in the morning show today. My sense is that Abbott is getting into a consolidation. It's at a lower point of the consolidation at the 17,700, 650 mark. And there is a higher degree of possibility that the breakout should happen on the upside. Indicators have started to become positive. MACD is quite bullish for Abbott. So, when we see typically these kind of formations or a setup, we expect that the consolidation would break out on the upside rather than on the downside. So, I would suggest to hold on. Possibly 18,800 could be an immediate target which you can keep on the stock.
Okay. Saurabh, the next query is coming in from Naveen, and this is on L&T Tech. Now, they've bought in the shares at 3,600 rupees. Should they continue to hold right now with a long-term view?
I think there is no problem with the business, but the valuation is a matter of concern, considering the fact that we are getting huge amount of selling in the growth stocks back at home, and even if you see the Nasdaq also, I think it is a the valuations are only looking stretched. So my take would be it's better to get out of the IT stocks and rather switch on to the banking. And the names like ICICI, SBI offers good opportunity for the long term.
From Kunal Thakur, and he's writing to us from Mumbai. And he wants to know whether if there is any specific time frame for AU Small Finance Bank to jump. He's asking, can we enter for swing trade 1 to 3 months, say for a target of about 700, Kunal?
Well, I think that could be a bit stretched because, the stock in the last 1 month has gone through very sideways price action. Today, the stock has had a special situation. For itself, it's down some, I think, 1% or 2% for itself so far. So 700 could be a bit of a far-fetched, a target for AU Small Finance Bank, and that too in a very short kind of a time span. I would expect the stock to consolidate going forward. So possibly 600 and 640 could be a broader range for the stock over the very near term.
Saurabh, the next query is coming in from Ashish. Now, Ashish here is holding two stocks. One is Syngene at around 596 and DVs at around 4,164. He wants to know which one is looking more attractive and which one should they hold and which one should they be selling with a long-term period view.
I think pharma per se sector is underperforming, and all these stocks, I mean, if you look at the earnings, there is hardly any growth the way we have seen in the times of the COVID in 2020. So in my opinion, I think it is not the sector, it is not the favorite one. But since the COVID cases are rising up again both in Mumbai and Kerala, so I guess there would be some tactical buying, and I guess that would be benefited more for the DVs rather than Syngene.
Coming in from Avijit, and he had written to us yesterday. We'll take your query right now, Avijit, and he wants to know the future of Apollo Hospitals. He wants to know whether he should look to sell this particular counter at a loss right now or wait for it to bounce back. He has about 30 shares of Apollo Hospitals, which he's purchased at 3,779 rupees per share. He's saying that it's gone down by about 8% in the last week. Kunal, Apollo Hospitals, this one also saw a very sharp rise in between over the last 1 week. I believe it's seen some sort of a downtrend. But does it make sense for Avijit to hold on to Apollo Hospitals given what is happening, and the demand will only increase? That's on the fundamental side, but on the technical side, how does charts for Apollo Hospitals look like?
Well, it doesn't look attractive, frankly, Cheryl. And I think in the last 3-4 months, the stock has been clobbered, because from 5,500 levels, I remember, I think end of 2021 is where the stock had started to get into a corrective phase. And in the last 2-3 months, the correction has been very, very sharp. There have been periods of almost, I think, 7-8 days of consecutive price downtrend for this kind of a stock, and doesn't augur very well over the near to medium term prospects for Apollo Hospital. I would expect the stock to get to further correction, maybe not immediately, but possibly over the next 3 to 6 months. I'm expecting the stock to correct by at least another 15 to 20% from current levels. So if you have that kind of a time frame, I would suggest to maybe exit at current levels and then look to buy back once the stock corrects to say 3,000, 3,100 kind of a zone.
Okay, that is the view from coming in on Apollo Hospitals from Kunal. But, with that, we'll slip into a short break. Kunal and Saurabh, stay with us because we will be taking more viewer queries after this break. So, viewers, do keep sending us your queries.
Markets is a numbers game, and it sometimes does come across as one-dimensional. But what people don't see is that these numbers, when strung together, tell a story. There's no really black or white. It very much seems to be a work in progress of triumphs and mistakes, greed and fear. And I bring you that story behind the numbers in action.
The personal finance show that helps you achieve all your financial dreams.
This show gets you everything that you need to know about your money, how to earn more, invest smartly, and spend while getting the best bang for your buck.
From the perfect home to early retirement and everything in between.
Real estate, everyone knows, is an asset that Indians absolutely love, maybe even more than gold.
Join us every weekday at 5 p.m. on the ET Money Show. Investment made easy. Only on ET Now.
With each passing day, this market is becoming better, and with each passing day, this market is only telling you that if you've participated on every decline, you've actually made money.
ITC's credo is nation first, sab saath bade. I would like to live this philosophy in whatever business we do.
We continue to be very well diversified across product lines. The general health of the company continues to be very strong.
We are a publicly listed company. We have access to capital. We have great brands.
No, beautiful question. Yeah, I can tell you, we believe that we'll be able to reduce costs.
ET is one of my favorites in the world. I'm a fan.
This is a very insightful question that you're asking, Nikunj, and almost seems like you were listening in on the deliberation the committee was doing. And you're absolutely right.
And if this cup of coffee is costing you 25 rupees right now, after 5 years, it may cost you 100 rupees. Predicting the market or predicting the short-term move in the market, well, that's always very easy. Predicting it right and making money, it's not impossible. It could be a challenge.
See, Nikunj, you're a very seasoned market observer, and therefore you may hit the nail on the head.
I think you have always kept the focus on the retail investor, and I think it's again a very apt, very good question.
Nikunj, first of all, thank you so much. You are one person I've always enjoyed interacting throughout last 15-20 years.
You know, the problem on coming on your channel is that you already know everything. I just heard your introduction. And what can anybody add to that?
Stock markets is a numbers game, and it sometimes does come across as one-dimensional. But what people don't see is that these numbers, when strung together, tell a story. There's no really black or white. It's very much...
Welcome back. You're watching Buy Now, Sell Now on ET Now. And before we went into the break, we were taking viewer queries, and we'll continue to do so. We have our experts Kunal Bothra as well as Saurabh Jain. Let me take this next query that I've got from Dr. Lakshman, who's writing to us from Vijayawada. And he's saying he has 1,000 shares of Laurus Labs that he's purchased at 545 rupees per share. He wants to know whether he should continue to hold on to it or look to shift to any other better pharmaceutical names. What's your take on this one, Kunal? Laurus Pharma, Laurus Laboratories, I beg your pardon, is the counter.
So I think both the strategies, both the point of views which the viewers have asked, I think could probably work well. So on the short-term charts, Laurus Labs looks quite okay to me. I think it's on the verge of a MACD breakout. The indicator is not yet given a breakout on the daily time frame, but it's on the verge of doing that. And at the same time, it's also on the verge of a breaking out of above its 200-day moving average. So the stock is consolidating since last one to 2 weeks. But then whenever the breakout happens for the stock, both in terms of indicators, you could expect the stock to get into at least a 5 to 7% kind of a short-term rally. So you can look to hold on to the stock in that aspect. But also, I think if you're looking to switch to a large cap pharma name, then I think something like a Dr. Reddy or Sun Pharma at current levels looks very attractive to me on the charts from a longer term play as well.
Saurabh, coming to you for the next one, we have Sukanya. Now, she's bought Fine Organics at around 3,850 rupees per share. 25 shares is what she's holding. With a mid to long term view, should she continue to hold these shares or should she be selling them?
In my opinion, I think the valuations are still at the premium, so I would rather recommend to sell.
All right, moving on. This one is coming in from RK and he's asking whether it is worth buying GMDC at current market price. What's your take on this one, Kunal?
Well, I would suggest to avoid, I think this mid-cap name had a fantastic uptrend since last, I think, first two or three months of this calendar year, 2022. Remember, I think the stock was almost at 70 levels or 60 levels, and from there it went up to almost 210 to 20 mark. Now the stock is into a retracement zone. So difficult to say that when the retracement would end, such as and given the kind of a market situation where we are, I think it makes sense to try and book profits from these kind of names rather than build positions. I would suggest an avoid.
The next query is coming in on Apollo Tyres. This one is from Vivek, and Kunal, this one is for you. They've bought in Apollo Tyres at around an average price of 223 rupees per share. They are worried about the current scenario going on. Should they be booking any losses or should they continue to hold the stock?
See, I think when I look at the charts from the Feb-March lows, the stock which was almost at 168, 165, from there, the stock is on the verge of a very strong horizontal-based trendline support. So when you look at the levels from those 165 mark, the stock or the support for the stock for Apollo Tyres is at 203, 204 mark. So you can continue to hold on till the time the stock doesn't break below this 203, 204 mark for itself. It's and if assuming if it breaks below the 200 mark is where I believe you should look to square off the trade over here for Apollo Tyres. Till the time it is above those levels, you can continue to hold.
Okay, this one is from Mr. B. Subbi Reddy. He's saying that he has 300 shares of HFCL purchased at the levels of 82 rupees per share. He wants to know whether he should continue to hold on to it or look to sell this particular counter over the longer term. Saurabh, what's your take on HFCL, Himachal Futuristic? How does this one look over the longer term? Makes sense to stay put with the holding?
I think from the business perspective, the business climate is improving. It has improved year on year, and I think it would continue to be. So my take would be you can hold on to the stock.
Kunal, the next query is on CDSL and BSC. Now, KR Balan is saying whether is it attractive to buy any of these stocks. Currently, they're holding L&T and Britannia. So sell that and buy these stocks with a mid to short term view.
Well, yeah, from a mid-term view, you can look to buy these names. I think CDSL, BSC, MCX, these stocks have started to do pretty well for themselves. Add CAMS also to that list. I think these stocks are looking reasonably strong. So if you have that kind of a time frame, yes, you can make that switch.
All right. The next query that I have is from Mr. Singh. He's writing to us from Pune, and he's mentioned that he's a senior citizen, and he wants to know what's a good entry level for Religare Enterprises. Kunal, if you look at the way how the business for Religare Enterprises is going on, they have actually kind of cleared the issues surrounding the particular company. But on the charts, how does Religare Enterprises look to you? Do you think it makes sense to invest right now?
I think it makes sense to invest or look to go for maybe a medium to slightly longer term kind of a play for Religare. The stock is trading above its 200 DMA, and this has come back after almost 6-7 months of the stock trading below this critical moving average. So that's the first sign of a possible strong trending built up. The volumes in the last 1 month has improved for Religare, and the price patterns have been more stable for the stock price rather than very, very volatile. So when you try and combine all of these three factors, it looks very attractive from a medium to slightly longer term play.
The next query we have is coming in from Vishal from Dubai. And Saurabh, this one is on Asian Paints. Is it a good time to enter or add more of Asian Paints with a 1 to 2 year view?
Because of the rise in the commodity prices, there is a good amount of pressure on the paint stocks, and I guess it would continue to. I think wait for some more correction in the stock and then buy in the staggered manner.
All right. Moving on to the next query then, and this one I have is from Amir. He's writing to us from Jammu, and he's saying that he has GAIL, about 700 shares purchased at the levels of 155 rupees per share. He wants to know what should he do with this counter. He's planning to hold on to it for the next 6 months. Kunal, 6 months time, do you think makes sense to hold on to GAIL, or should he hold on to this one for the longer term?
Well, I think you should hold on to it from a longer term play. 6 months could probably be a bit tricky because when I look at the last 6 months or 6 months back, the stock was at, I think, 145, 144 mark for itself. It went down to 126, came up to almost 168. So it's been meandering at this 150, mark, more or less as a pivot range for itself. So possibly, if you can look at extending a time horizon and then maybe looking at it from the next 1 to 2 years, at least, then I think it makes sense to hold on to the stock and also have a strategy in case if you're looking to hold on to that kind of a time frame and if the stock dips towards say 140 or 135 kind of a mark, that could be a good zone where you can look to average further.
Sort of the next query we have is on Butterfly Gandhi, and this one is coming in from Raja. He wants to know whether is it attractive and good buy at the current levels?
I think this company works on a very thin margin, and the kind of sales we have witnessed in the times of COVID is not coming up. And because of the rise in the cost pressures, I don't think so this company would be able to protect their margins. So I expect a fall in the profitability, and I expect the stock to fall.
Right. This one is from Denny. He's writing to us from UK, and he has SBI call option 480 at 14. Is June expiry is what he's saying, Kunal. But he wants to know whether SBI can cross 500 or no. What's your take?
Well, I think it could be a bit tough for the month of June. I think probably post the event of the Fed, which is due, I think, next week. I think post that is where I believe that banking stocks can get back into the thick of momentum. So you can wait out for maybe another week. But then, if SBI doesn't cross that 480 mark, then it could be a bit tricky, holding on to this call option.
So the next one, we have a query coming in on Sindoor Manganese, and this is from Suresh. Now, they have bought in it around 4,295 levels, and obviously it's dropped considerably from that level. Is it good to hold and wait for a long-term period, or should they be selling the stock, exit from the stock? What should they be doing?
I think if you are betting on the commodities, have a good eye on how the commodity is behaving. I mean, if you have bet on the Sindoor Manganese, you should have an eye on how that metal is performing. The metals are cooling off, and so are the stocks. And I see no respite in the metal price correction. So my take is negative. I think it is better to exit Sindoor Manganese.
This one is coming in from Raj from Bengaluru. And Raj, yes, we did take your query on alkyl amines earlier in the week, but let me take the GMM Pfaudler query that you've posted. And he wants to know what should he do with GMM Pfaudler. He's looking to buy this particular counter, but he wants to know what's a good price, but he wants to know the fundamental take on this one. What's your take, Saurabh, on GMM Pfaudler?
See, it's not in our recommendation list, and also the valuation seems to be high, seems to be.
Okay. Kunal, the next query is coming in for you. Aavas Financiers. Now, we have Indu who has bought in Aavas Financiers at around 2,350 levels and is making a loss on that. What is the technical view? How long before they can actually start expecting to come up to its buy price, or should they be looking at averaging it now?
So I think you can look to average at current levels, but probably over the next 1 or 2 weeks, I think could be the charts a bit more clear. The 50-day moving average or the slope of the 50-day moving average has started to plateau out. Now that's a sign, and the stock is trading below its 50 DMA as well as the 200 DMA. So when the averages tend to flatten out, they act as mean reversion points for stocks, and that generally indicates that there could be a rally or a short-term bounce into the stock price. So purely on that aspect, I would suggest that you can look to average at current levels and wait out for the bounce, which could, once it plays out, I think the stock can head towards 2200, 2250 mark, which could be very close to your average cost price then.
All right, this one is coming in from Akash from Delhi, and he wants a view on Credit Access Grameen. He's saying that he's planning to buy this counter because it's hovering around 1,070 to 1,080 rupees per share levels. But he wants to know, does it make sense to look at buying this one for the longer term? What's your take on this one, Saurabh? Do you think Credit Access Grameen makes sense to look at this particular counter? Fundamentally a strong one?
I think it will continue to post good set of numbers, and that is why market is giving premium to this. I think from the longer term perspective, I think it makes sense to buy this stock.
Okay, surely keeping an eye out on that one. But Kunal, coming to you, we have Padma who's talking about Ultratech and IRCTC. Is it advisable to look at these stocks with a midterm view?
Well, I would suggest to avoid, as of now, both of these names. Cement stocks in the last 1 week has gone through very sharp rise in the open interest, and there has been evidence of fresh shorting into these names. So one should look to avoid the stock, because the intensity of sell-off generally increases or intensifies whenever there is a huge quantum of shorting which happens into these names. IRCTC, on the other hand, is going through a very lackluster kind of a bounce. The stock bounced back, I think, a week or two from those 640, 650 levels to 685, 700 mark. But then the bounce has fizzled down, quite quickly, and the stock is back towards that 640, 645 mark yet again. So would not suggest a buy or an averaging opportunity for both of these stocks, at least as of now.
All right, and with that, let's kickstart with the rapid fire. Both of our experts are familiar with the way how we go about with the rapid fire. So let me kickstart with this one. And this one I have is from Chandan, and he's asking about Deepak Nitrite. 750 is what he's purchased it at. Wants to know whether he should hold or sell, given what happened with this plant. What's the take on this one, Saurabh?
My take would be to sell.
Okay. Kunal, we have a query on Bank of India. Mayank is holding Bank of India at around 48 rupees per share. They bought it at last month, and should they continue to hold it or sell?
I would suggest continue to hold on.
Okay, this one's from Rajeshwari from Chennai. Purchased Chennai Petro, about 100 shares at approximately 411 rupees per share. Wants to know what should she do? Look to buy some more at these levels, Kunal?
Well, I think you've bought at the higher end of the price rally. I think just about yesterday. I would suggest an exit on the stock at current levels.
Okay. Saurabh, next one is Adani Wilmar. 300 shares they are holding at Prasad is holding at 661 rupees per share. Do you suggest to hold, sell, or add more?
I would rather suggest to exit.
Okay, this one is from Sunil G from Muscat, and he's saying that he's holding Canfin Homes, bought at around 100 rupees per share around 10 years ago. Now he wants to know whether he should continue to hold or exit. He's a long-term investor. Saurabh?
My take would be to exit and switch to ICICI Bank.
Okay. Kunal, the next one query is coming in from Soumya, and this one is on Coastal Corporation, holding 1,200 shares at 440 rupees per share. Should they continue to hold or sell?
Well, I think it's a recently listed name, but even though with a limited chart history, I would expect the stock to get into a downward trend. Would suggest a sell.
Okay, Sudhir from Kerala wants to know whether it's okay to buy Bajaj Finance at these levels for a period of 1 to 2 years. Saurabh?
I would rather suggest to buy ICICI Bank.
Okay. Kunal just gave his view on IRCTC, so y'all can just go back and watch his view coming in on IRCTC. But the next one is coming in from Anup. The query is on IEX. 126 shares. They're making a loss of 20% as of now. Kunal, should they hold, average? What should the view be?
Well, I would suggest to average, but not at current levels. Wait out for the stock to come back towards 170, 175 range. That could be a good point where you can look to average.
All right, and with that, we come to the end of the queries as well as rapid fire. Thank you so much, Saurabh, as well as Kunal, for joining us on the show, giving us your take on the tractor manufacturers, as well as resolving all of our viewer queries. And viewers, we will be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. where we will be taking all of your queries. So do write into us, and don't be disheartened if we've not been able to take your queries today. But I hope that you benefited from all the queries that were answered as well. But on that note, we slip into a break on this edition of Buy Now, Sell Now. Stay tuned, lots more on the other side. Don't go anywhere.
Seems to be a work in progress of triumphs and mistakes, greed and fear. And I bring you that story behind the numbers in action.